Ask you if you are worried, if you're concerned about the threats, not only from Baghdad, but also, as we just heard there, from the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, also from Iran, even from the United States. All of these countries very much opposed to this referendum. Is there a risk you are putting your people in danger of economic hardship, but also possibly of military repercussions?
Well, it's unfortunate that there has been overreaction and exaggeration in the reaction of the neighboring countries and also in the international community. What we have asked for is a very basic right, the exercise of the right to self-determination by a people who have been oppressed, a people who have suffered genocide, chemical gas and destruction of our villages and notorious Anfal operations. Unity cannot be imposed from outside. Unity has to be voluntary. And we voluntarily decided in 2003 to be part of a federal, democratic, pluralistic Iraq. It's not our fault that Iraq failed. It's the fault of those who have led Iraq to this destiny. Because we wanted partnership, it was rejected, and Baghdad wants subordination and subjugation of the people. After all these sacrifices, we are not ready to go back and to be at the mercy of Baghdad. Where was the international community when Baghdad unlawfully and unconstitutionally cut our budget? When Baghdad violated the constitution and did not provide the budget of the people of Kurdistan, but also they did not give any of the entitlement of the Peshmerga force, which is a constitutional force and part of the Iraqi national defense system. Where was the international community when the Iraqi federal government should have implemented Article 140 before the end of 2007? Therefore, many of these violations have happened without that. Therefore, it is important for the international community to respect the international law.
Okay,
but also, for us,
if
we have not committed a crime. What we have done is that.
Well, sorry to interrupt you. Just to put it in context, those countries are concerned that you have a long-term plan. There are just over 5 million people, 5 million Kurds voting in this referendum now. There are 30 million Kurds in the region. And Turkey, Iran and Syria as well, they're worried about separatist movements there. This could really destabilize the region. Even the UN has said that this could really prove to destabilize the region. It could cause neighbor turning against neighbor. It could cause a lot of war and violence in the region. What do you say to that?
Well, let me be very clear. In fact, when we made this decision, we realized that it's not a risk-free process. It will include risks. But we were not expecting this overreaction to the legitimate demand of the people of Kurdistan. This is one. Second, when we talk about this right, it's only for the people of Kurdistan region of Iraq. It does not go beyond the borders. It does not have to do anything with the Kurds in Turkey, with the Kurds in Iran or Kurds in Syria. Therefore, we have been very clear about that. And the other thing is that we have always stated very clearly that the day after we will not declare independence. This is only for the leadership to get a legitimate mandate from the people of Kurdistan. This is what they want, and then for the leadership to engage with Baghdad in a very serious and meaningful dialogue in order to negotiate a very peaceful and smooth split. That's why we said we will be flexible, we will engage seriously with Baghdad, and we want it to be a solution that will satisfy both Erbil and Baghdad. Therefore, we do not understand for the neighboring countries to react this aggressively, because we have proven to our neighbors that we are a factor for stability. We extended hand of friendship, and we were very pleased at the level of relations between Kurdistan region and the Republic of Turkey and also Islamic Republic of Iran. And we had no problems because Kurdistan region did not pose a threat. We have been a factor for stability, and also we want partnership. Therefore, we want to make sure that we communicate with them directly that this is not a threat. And also, another fact is that this referendum will not determine the future status of the so-called disputed areas or areas of Kurdistan outside the KRG administration, because we want to address all these issues through the negotiations with Baghdad.
Okay, let's talk a bit more about those negotiations in a moment. But I want to talk about that's your relations with your neighbours. I want to talk about the other ethnic groups who live in northern Iraq. It's not just Kurds who live there, particularly in Kirkuk, for example. There are many Arabs, there are many Turkmen. They've boycotted this vote. There have even been reports by Amnesty International and others that they have been subject to threats. They have been subjected to violence because of this vote. What is the risk of this, bringing up sectarianism and once again making people turn against their neighbours, people that they've lived with peacefully for decades?
I think I will not accept such kind of allegations, because Kurdistan region has been land of tolerance, and our record for the protection and treatment of the minorities is very clear. Kurdistan region was at a very difficult position in the last 3 years, especially when Baghdad cut our budget. We were engaged in a deadly and costly war against ISIS on a front line that was 1,050 kilometers long, and we also hosted 1.8 million internally displaced people from Iraq and refugees from Syria. And yesterday, the High Commission for Referendum in Kurdistan region approved a document regarding the rights and future status of all these minorities in the future Kurdistan. And this is a document that would be submitted to the parliament so that that would be enshrined and stipulated in the future Kurdistan constitution. We have a bright record, and we have a record that we are proud of, and our performance on the ground have shown that. Therefore, we call it Kurdistan, and we do not call it that. This was a Kurdish referendum. This was a referendum for Kurdistan and for Kurdistan's independence. We do realize there are other minorities who live with us: Kurds, Turkmen, Chaldean, Assyrian, Syriac, Muslims, Christians, Yazidis, Shabak, all live together in this, and we are proud of this diversity. We have never been afraid of this diversity. That's why, in fact, we do want the international community to remember what we were talking about. We have been talking about all these issues, and we're proud of our performance in the past, but it seems that every now and then there are people who want just to throw such kind of allegations in order to damage the reputation of Kurdistan region.
We are running out of time. I just want to ask you, going forward then in negotiations with Baghdad, if you do get a yes vote in this referendum and you move into negotiations with Baghdad, they have been, very clear that they oppose independence for Kurdistan. Why would they give it up? They're under a lot of international pressure. They're still fighting a war against ISIS. How will you persuade them to let you go ahead and have an independent state? And what if you just get a flat-out no from Baghdad? Will that turn into a military conflict?
Well, indeed, we have been very clear. We have given Baghdad 14 years in order to deliver the promises and also fulfill the obligations, the constitutional obligations that they were under. But unfortunately, they chose not to. What is the alternative from Baghdad if they do not choose to dialogue? Now the people of Kurdistan have decided it's a new era. We have entered a new era. This has to be a new relationship between Erbil and Baghdad, and we hope that Baghdad would realize that the best way to address all these issues is through dialogue. We also fought ISIS. In fact, it was the Peshmerga forces who were first stopped the advances of ISIL and started to defeating them and regaining territory. That's why the international community should not forget the role of the Peshmerga, should not forget the role of the people of Kurdistan in hosting these refugees and IDPs that Baghdad was not ready to accept them. That's why we're proud of the open door policy, that we have opened our doors and our borders to all these IDPs who came regardless of their ethnic, religious or sectarian background. The point is that Baghdad was not able to give us any alternative, and they put us in a situation that we were convinced we have no more any future in Baghdad. Therefore, we needed to decide this in order to make sure that the people of Kurdistan would not suffer. We have a tragic history. We want to secure a better future for the new generation and the generations to come.
Just very briefly, are you disappointed by Washington's stance on this? And do you think you might be able to win President Donald Trump, who is notoriously ambiguous on some of his foreign policy issues? Do you think you might be able to win him over to your cause?
Well, indeed, this issue puts the international community the credibility of the international community at risk, because on the one hand, they talk about human rights, respect for the rights of the minorities, respect for the rule of law, respect for democracy. Where are they in the people of Kurdistan who are exercising a very basic human and democratic right? We are not committing a crime. We are not violating any law. We wanted the people of Kurdistan to be given an opportunity to exercise their right to self-determination. With that, we have stated very clearly that we are committed to dialogue, to negotiations, and to peaceful approach. What did we do in order not to get their support? Therefore, we expect that the international community and the Security Council and the United Nations Secretary General react positively to our demand. They know us very well. They know what the region has suffered, and they know what the region has done. And we have been a partner in the war against ISIS and extremism, in hosting this large number of refugees and IDPs who needed support at a very critical moment while we were suffering from economic challenges because of the failure of Baghdad to provide the rightful entitlements of the people of Kurdistan.